G'day fellas. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Haudenosaunee. Now, it's incredibly difficult for me to say that, so instead of saying that, I'm just going to call them the Iroquois. So we're going to be taking a look at the Iroquois water start. Now, this is a strategy that has been seeing a lot of prominence in recent tournaments, with the Iroquois being picked up in the ESOC Challenge Cup a large amount of times on water maps especially, and with the Iroquois especially being quite dominant on the ladder. In my opinion right now, I think that the Iroquois are one of the best civilizations in the game, and one of the reasons why is their strength on water maps. So the question is then asked, how good is starting Iro water? Before we get into it though, guys, I am currently live over on Twitch. Come say g'day once you finish the video, or if you want to put it on pause, come say g'day right now. I'll keep you company. So I should say before we dive into the map that all of these calculations are made on the assumption that the players involved didn't pick up any treasures in the beginning of the game. When we're making big calculations like this and throw in, say, an 80 wood treasure, it makes it difficult to calculate the true value of a build order. So the first consideration that must be made is to compare a villager to a fishing boat. A villager collects a hunt at 0.84 food per second, whereas a fishing boat collects a fish at 0.67 food per second, making 4 villagers equivalent to 5 fishing boats. I've got some numbers up on the screen right now for you just to show the math. Now keep in mind that these gathering rates don't include or account for any gathering rate upgrades such as gill nets or hunting dogs, but note that typically an Iroquois player isn't going to be researching those technologies until a more advanced point in the game anyway, so it's not really that important that we do consider them. So now that we've established gather rates, let's talk about the standard land build order and when its timings hit. There are 2 primary build orders for the Iroquois on land. The first is on maps with a trading post, and it's to use your travois to explore and then make a house. You chop extra wood in age 1 to build that trading post. You'll send 3 villagers from the home city and begin aging up to the second age at around 3 minutes and 15 seconds with 15 villagers. The second build order is where players use the travois to explore for a short time before turning it into a farm. Then they use that farm to generate a large amount of experience, as when the farm finishes construction, it awards build experience to the player. And with that build experience, you're able to send your 3 settlers from the home city much sooner. You chop an additional 25 wood so that you can finish your longhouse, but typically you would avoid doing this build unless there was really no other option where you didn't have water or you didn't have a trading post that you could take. There is a slightly faster age up with this build order, aging up at around 3 minutes and 5 seconds with 15 villagers. It should also be said that you can use this build order on maps with large amounts of livestock. So now that we have our 2 benchmarks, let's compare where the water build sits in comparison. So with the starting travois with the water build, you're immediately going to make a dock. You begin training fishing boats while simultaneously training villagers from the town center. All of your villagers are then subsequently sent to wood until you've gathered enough wood to make a total of 4 fishing boats. You'll also need to gather extra wood to build a longhouse. So it's important that you time it so that the construction of the longhouse happens after your first fishing boat so that you avoid being housed completely. You begin aging up a little bit later into the game, typically around 3 minutes 30. But in addition to having an extra villager, you also have 4 fishing boats. This translates to roughly 4.2 villagers in total extra, or equivalent to a 36% greater economy, meaning an extra 3.52 food per second or 211 food per minute. Offset against this for the 2 land build orders are the trading post in the first build order and the farm in the second build order. The trading post is complex to calculate as it improves the curve of the Iroquois shipments, but typically considered equivalent to be roughly 1.5 villagers without stagecoach if we assume a 1-to-1 exchange with experience and resources that villagers collect. In my experience, it is quite rare to see an Iroquois player take the trading line, but it is something that does happen on maps that have got more trading posts, say 4 or 5 trading posts like Central Plain or New England. And there we can probably assume that the trading post would develop into 4 villages a second eventually once stagecoach is researched. For the second land build, we have a villager shipment that arrives roughly 30 seconds faster, and as a result, it's a very simple 90 villager second gain. There's also the potential of the farm fattening livestock, but this is very tricky to calculate considering the variability of fattening rates in animals, the number of livestock available on maps, and as well as the player's input in determining how much of that livestock is eventually captured. As a result, I'll provide a caveat that because of this variability, we can't really calculate the worth of this, and we'll just simply exclude it from this factor for our considerations and calculations. So now that we've got the maths out of the way, we can see that there's a clear winner here, and that's the water build. But the question is, what are you giving up by taking the water build? And the truth is, not a lot at all. As an Iroquois player, you can still maintain map control just simply by taking the messenger, aging up at roughly 4 minutes, and making sure that you've got map control from the get-go. Any potential threat that you've got means that you're able to mitigate it through the power of the messenger. And because this build has no weakness, I think that's exactly what makes it so strong. So you're probably wondering then, okay, but once you've opened, do you invest any more in fishing boats? And one of the things about this build is that it is so flexible. If you do decide to build more fishing boats, that's great. If you decide that you're not going to build more fishing boats, that's not a problem either. So in the game that's going on behind me, I've opted to continue training more fishing boats and opt for some sort of fast fortress or semi-fast fortress, really focusing on the economy. I didn't have to add fishing boats. I just made the decision that I'm probably going to be up against China. I'm going to be up against a much larger unit composition than mine. And so I'm going to play the long game. I'm going to sit in my base. I'm going to wait for that death ball to come. And when it does come, I'm going to try and overwhelm it just by having more units. But by the same token, you can definitely play Age 2. And if you want to invest in only 4 fishing boats and then use that 4 fishing boat advantage to leverage the power and create an extra 2 Aina every minute, then that's something that you can do as well. But the most common strategy that I do see Iroquois players opting for is an extended Age 2 period and at the same time fish booming. So essentially just creating fishing boats and villages at the same time, maintaining map control and just continuing to add towards their absolutely ridiculous mass. So to answer the question, how good is Iro Water? Well, it's incredibly good. In fact, I would say it's one of the best strategies in the game right now. Well, fellas, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. The next videos that we've got coming up on this channel include a Revolution review as well as another tier list, which is going to be focusing on heavy infantry. So keep your eyes out for those ones, and I'll see you guys in the next video.